Awesome. Here we are at the Invisible to Invincible Summit. We have our next speaker on the stage, Cathy Derksen. Now, I met Cathy. I don't remember how again. It's interesting because some people I remember exactly like how I meet them. And some people like they just come into my life and they just feel like they've always been there. Well, Cathy is one of those people. And her topic today is going to be about reigniting your life. And when I first saw this title, Cathy, I must admit that at the beginning of my life, I wouldn't have been able to see myself as reigniting my life because I never felt like it was ignited in the first place. So reignite is kind of like one of those words that I'm a little bit curious about this. I know that you have your company is Inspired Tenacity. You help people to reignite their life. And so, Cathy, share with us, how can we reignite or ignite our life? It's all up to you, girl.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me on. It's always been an adventure being involved in Linda's projects, whether it's the books or the summits or the networking, and loving it all. And yes, and so I'm going to share my screen. Linda, do I have access for doing that?
You should, if you don't, let me know.
Let me just get this going over here. One couple things. Oh, let me just jump over there. Sorry, I'm just gonna get all this tech stuff set up here. Okay, let's see, share that. Jump over there. Let's see, is it gonna go? Sorry, it's trying to get it to jump onto full screen. There we go, perfect. All right, so it's interesting that I followed Melody because in a way, our topics are overlapped. I will kind of give you a bit of an overview about who I am and where I'm coming from. But yes, reigniting your life is the main theme of most of the work that I'm doing. And to kind of give you a bit of a background, my mission in my company is to create a cycle of wealth and success among women around the world. And sort of where I came from, so my background, I've actually been a financial planner for about 10 years. And I left my career in financial planning because I felt that there was so much of our dealing with money and our relationship with money and our ability to create what we consider to be wealth and success in our lives. I mean, all of us, we all have a different definition really for wealth and success. But I found while I was working as a financial planner that there was so much of those decisions and that ability to get through those challenges that was actually needed to get dealt with first. So parts of that are, in general, I find most women at our age, again, I'm assuming most of us are kind of in midlife, often we've lost track of who we are and what we actually want to do with our lives. We've been so busy looking after everybody else, whether it's our kids or elderly parents or working a job that's very demanding. And, we get into our 40s and 50s and 60s and realize, like, what am I doing? How did I get here? And to Linda's point, I think I like to hope sometime in our 20s or 30s that we had a time in our life when we felt that we were doing what we wanted to do and on some kind of track. But for a lot of us, that wasn't the case. But so we can call it reignite or just ignite your life. So what I found that so many of us have gotten stuck in that, and especially these days, I think a lot of people are really just feeling stuck, feeling like they just aren't sure what to do next, feeling like they know they need to make changes, but not sure how to do that, how to get started, what are the next steps. So what I'm doing, so with my experience as a financial planner, and here I've also listed some of the other trainings and things that I've done along the way. So also certified with Jack Canfield and Bob Proctor and doing some work in feminine power and all these other things. And I'm a mom, I'm divorced, all this life experience I've taken and I've put it all together in what I'm doing now. So again, looking at our reigniting our life, one of the first steps is really allowing yourself to dream. And as I was saying, so many of us have kind of lost track of that. We've lost track of our dreams. We've lost track of what we actually wanted to do. And I love this quote that I put here beside it. So don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. And again, I find right now, especially so many of us are just stuck in this kind of waiting, this not going anywhere kind of thing. Whereas I think the more of us that actually find what excites us and do that, then we bring that energy and that positive momentum to the world as well. And so that's one of your first steps in reigniting your life. Next is to actually create a path, like figure out, okay, what are those next steps? How do I make that next first step? And really looking at that. And here again with this quote of perhaps some detours aren't detours at all. Perhaps they're the actual path. And I think that's one of the things that keeps us stuck as well, is that we look at things and we think, oh, well, that's not what I meant to do, or that's not the direction I wanted to go. And we don't always see all the opportunities that are in front of us. So definitely keep that one in mind. And of course, the next big one is to actually take a leap of faith and trust yourself and trust your instincts. I'm a huge believer in intuition and just listening to those voices, the positive voices, the good ones in the back of your head that are really giving you some information and advice. And here we've got, your wings already exist. All you need to do is fly. And so many of us, our wings are curled up and we're not letting ourselves fly. We're not letting ourselves step into that next phase of our life and what we actually wanted to do. So those are the main 3 steps that I feel are really critical in reigniting your life or igniting your life, depending on how your life has been so far. But with the work that I'm doing, as I was saying at the beginning, I've come from a financial planning career and really saw that a lot of women were not making advances in their success, even though you could give them information, you could give them the tools, but they were still stuck in where they're at. And I find that so often a lot of that was around mindset, messages we tell ourselves. If we're always telling ourselves, oh, I'm always broke, I'm always struggling, I can't do this. I know for myself, when I first got divorced, one of the big ones was single moms are always broke. Single moms will always struggle. And so really getting myself out of that message that I was telling myself was a huge part of what I needed to do. So that's why now, as a financial planner working in a corporate setting, I was very controlled. There was so few things I could address. Really, I had to just do those transactions, those basic information, basic tools. But now I'm able to take women further back into the beginning of this process and actually start with, what do you want to do? What is your dream? Where do you actually want to take your life? Because in my mind, all of those numbers and all of that, putting things together and what are your goals and all that doesn't really, if it's not based on a dream and on what we really want to do, that we're really emotionally attached to, then we won't do it. We won't go there. We don't make progress. We get caught in those other obstacles that are getting in our way. So that's why it's really important to, and all the work, the information that Melody was giving us earlier was wonderful information and exactly true. But please, before you start applying that, also allow yourself to really think about, what is it I actually want? What am I trying to accomplish? What is the next chapter of my life going to look like? And one of the things too that I like to remind women about is that we actually need to be planning to live into our 90s. And so when we think about it, quite often this old definition of retirement where we're kind of aiming for our, late 50s into our 60s and I'm going to retire. Well, what does that mean? What are you actually wanting to do with that next chapter of your life? And I find with so many women that it can really create that bigger spark of energy and excitement and motivation that comes from really allowing yourself to think into that next step, to actually create that next chapter. All the books that Linda's been working on and allowing us to participate in are actually really neat exercises in that kind of thing too, because a lot of us have been telling our past story. But then in doing that, I find it also helps us start imagining our next chapter, that next thing that we want to create, and that next chapter we're going to write about our lives. So really keeping that in mind. And one of the things that really excites me about the work that I'm doing now, I actually consider myself to be a disruptor and a catalyst, in that, again, getting back to the idea that so many of us are feeling stuck, or we're living in a lifestyle that's not inspiring us, not exciting us. So I feel that my role here, that I've come to kind of following my intuition and what I need to do next, is that I am that disruptor. I'm that one who's standing in front of you saying, okay, stop banging your head against the wall. Let's get unstuck. Let's get moving forward. One of the programs I've been putting together is actually called Snap Out of It, because I find so many of us are just in that kind of, like, our feet are in the mud and we can't move. We're in some kind of daydream. And again, especially right now with the last couple of years of living in this kind of blur, that I think we're kind of in this strange daydream. And so the snap out of it and give yourself that next step that you really want to do, and give yourself permission to move into that next step. So to go backwards a little bit and tell you a bit about my chapter that was in the book, the Invisible to Invincible. And I talked a lot about times in my life when I really was invisible. And the bigger one being when I was in a marriage that was very toxic, it was abusive, and just living in that stuckness of, I guess, just putting up with what we had and not recognizing there's options, there's choices, there's other people out there that are willing and want to help you discover what the next things are, want to help you move forward, want to be a very supportive community. And that's one of the things that really has helped me a lot, is finding communities like the one that Linda's created here with the Women Action Takers, is that it has created such a group of people that have, like I was saying earlier, all the activities that are going on that really anyone can fit into, that creates a community that supports, informs, educates, and gives other networking opportunities. So it's amazing to step into those kind of things when you are going through those big challenges and different things coming up. And I've found that it's really amazing how once you give yourself permission to get out of being stuck, that you'll find different opportunities come up, and things that probably were right in front of your face before, but you didn't see them. You didn't see them until you actually opened your eyes and opened yourself to those opportunities and those different parts of life that maybe weren't there before. So that is kind of, in a nutshell, what I'm working on now. And again, I'm bringing all of my previous life experience together. So the financial planning part, I find, and I've always believed that that's the last part of the conversation. Starting with that dreaming, starting with that figuring out a roadmap. And then once you know what that roadmap looks like, then you have those conversations about the numbers and the money and what does that look like? How do you get there? But really, to me, the most important part is to really focus on the dreaming and focus, giving yourself permission to live your life. And again, so many of us have spent years looking after everybody else. So being in a community like this is just so helpful and so inspiring to allow you to step into that next thing that you're doing. So I've been really excited to do that with all of you. Whoops. And this is one of the quotes that's really helped me. I've had it hanging on my wall for many years as I've gone through these different things. And before I was a financial planner, I actually worked for 25 years in medical genetics. So I did a huge career change over a decade ago. And that was also when I went through divorce and settled on my own as a single mom. So I was going through a lot of big challenges and just new things that I literally just had to step into and jump and fly, really. So this one has really been big for me. How does one become a butterfly? That you have to want to fly so much that you're willing to give up being a caterpillar. And I think that's where so many of us are right now, where, again, that stuckness, stuck in that caterpillar and knowing we want something else, knowing we want something bigger, but we're kind of in that comfort zone, the comfort zone of this is familiar. So even though if I don't really like where I'm living or like my current situation, it is our comfort zone because that's what's familiar. So this whole idea of we have to be willing to give up being this caterpillar, and we have to be willing to push ourselves outside of where we're comfortable. That old line everybody loves about, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's what change takes. And as a lot of you know, the name of my company, so Inspired Tenacity, that name actually came about because I really feel that those are the things that we need for making big changes in our life. First, we need that inspiration, but then you need the tenacity to just keep going. Whatever the struggles are, whatever the challenges are, just keep at it. And one of the things too that I always love to add is the word that's missing there is courage. And courage is a huge component to making any big change. So to me, those are the three critical elements of making big decisions and big changes in your life, is the inspiration, the courage, and the tenacity to get through all of that. So, and again, this community is here to help you and to support you, and we love being there. And as part of that, one of the gifts that I'm giving in my gift bin that we've got going on is this complimentary assessment where we sit down together and just go through where you're at, where you think you want to be, and kind of start with a roadmap and moving you forward from there. And I've put all my different contact information in the chat, and it will also be on the website. And for the next few days too, I've got a $500 discount on my 3-month program. So let me know, and we'll even put in some books, some free books. I've done 5 books so far. A couple of them have been with Linda. We've got one just going out right now. And yes, let me just get out of my sharing here. Where am I? Oh, just a sec. How do I undo share? Stop sharing. And I'll
Awesome,
jump back
Cathy.
out here.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was fantastic. Reigniting your life. So, during your journey, what was that aha moment that you said, I got to make a change? And then what was that first, if you can remember, like what was that first step you took? Because being inspired is one thing, but we got to take action, right? We have to have that courage, as you mentioned. And so what was that aha moment that like, I got to change something? And then what was that first step that you took?
Yeah. And I think, the first part of my evolution was back. Actually, I was writing it in the chapter that we're working on right now. And it really was, my family was in a really tragic car accident back in 2008. And that really, I think, was the slap in the face that kind of really got me like, give your head a shake. It's time to change things. That it really kind of made me again recognize life is too short for this. Life is too short for, wasting time and living in a way that you're not happy with, that really is toxic. Because when you think about it too, living in the toxic environment that so many of us stick ourselves in and stay in, it's not good for your health. It's not good for your relationships. It's not good for your mental health. There's so many factors that being stuck and being in a toxic situation just eat away at us. So that was really the beginning of it. And then from there, again, I'm a huge believer in just intuition and listening to my gut. And it definitely did guide me in, okay, you need support on this. You need new tools. You need to learn how to make that next step. Because before that, I really hadn't done much personal development. I had been working a job, doing that, just day to day and having young kids. And so it really was a journey that set me on the journey. And here we are now. You'll have to read the book to know the rest.
Teaser. Yeah. So that taking that first step, I think, is sometimes the most challenging thing, was having that courage, right, to actually take the step. Because so now we have this awareness that we want change, right? We want to reignite something. So we have this awareness, and that's the first step, is to have awareness. Now, do I want to do anything about it? My mom was with my dad for 55 years, and he was abusive. He was a narcissist. The first words my mom said when my dad took his last breath after 55 years of marriage was, "Thank God the bastard is dead." Like, I was standing right next to her. So my mission for my life is to not have that right? So I'm inspired by my mom's last words, which were negative words, but I'm inspired to not live that type of life, to make sure that when I get to the end of my life, that I'm saying I live my life with no regrets. And so curious for you, like what are some of these tips that you can share with us, like, as far as reigniting your life, without giving away your whole program, but, give us something, Cathy, give us something. Give me something to
Well,
work with
I
here.
think one of the really, really important parts is to reach out to a bigger, broader community, because I think most of us have experienced that if we get that idea, we want to make a big change, we talk to our family, we talk to our close friends, and quite often they'll talk us out of it. And they're not doing it to be mean or to make you feel like, oh, you can't do that. I mean, in most cases, they're doing it to protect you. They don't want you to get hurt. They don't want you to get yourself in trouble. It's, just stay where you're at. Everything's fine. So to me, that's one of the huge steps, is to actually recognize that in some cases, your immediate contact group is not the best group to support you in actually making a big change. And whether that is that you need a relationship change, whether it's a career change, whether it's just, hey, I want to start a business, or hey, I want to travel more, or just, any big change that we make, you'll often find that your friends and family are not the ones that will support you in that. And so reaching out and connecting with a community. And I think that's one of the huge things that I bring as well, is actually creating a safe community where women are just feel safe to actually say what they're really feeling, to say what they're really thinking. Because I found so often, and especially, in groups and with our close friends and family, we really are not being honest. We're not telling our truth. We're not really spitting out all that stuff that we're really feeling about, being stuck, feeling guilty, feeling stressed, we're not being honest with ourselves. So really creating a safe community where women can really just say it, bring it out, throw it right out there in front of you, because you can't really start moving forward until you've really been honest with yourself. So I think that's one of the huge, huge things, is reaching out to a broader community and getting in a safe environment where you can really be honest, saying what's on your mind and what you actually want.
I love that. I truly, truly believe that as well, because I've created a judgment-free safe zone. And the reason I created that is because I didn't have that for so many decades. Oftentimes we create what we want, right? So we create it for ourselves, and then hopefully others will join us, is kind of like how that's kind of how I live my life now. I create what I need, and then hopefully people will join in. And finding that safe, like you mentioned, family. Oh my gosh, yes, exactly. Family is not always the most supportive. Now, if you have a positive and supportive family, awesome.
Yes.
But I want to say that probably the majority of us don't have that, because vast majority of people I've met, at least, don't have a supportive family. And a lot of times it's because they're scared for us. They're scared for us of the unknown, or they still see us as that child we were years ago. I'm going to share just a quick story here. Is when I started my personal development journey, I changed drastically. I used to be a very negative person. I would talk bad about people. I was extremely judgmental. It was the environment I grew up in. Those were the people I grew up with, and that's what I learned. And so that's who I was, right? We're a product of our environments until we choose to change. And so I was going through life as this miserable person, always talking bad about people. I made fun of people all the time. I was just, frankly, I was not a good person. I was not a nice person. I was a good person. I was not a kind person. So when I made this decision to change, who I am, and went on this journey of personal development, and as I started to go on this new path, what I found is that, first of all, a lot of the negative people in my life just kind of started falling off. It wasn't conscious. I didn't say, ooh, I don't want them in my life anymore. I just kind of looked back and I was like, hey, so-and-so, I haven't heard from so-and-so in months, who I used to talk to every week. I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, and that's a huge thing too, because I find so many people will talk about social media, and there's so much negative stuff and a lot of the. I don't have those people on my social media. I have surrounded myself with groups of mainly women, but groups of people that are positive, supportive, outgoing, encouraging. And so those other people don't even show up on my news streams or in my conversations because I'm not attracting them anymore. I'm focused
Right.
on connecting with people that I feel that energy of excitement and encouragement and support. And that's so, yeah, so you're right that the more you move on and intentionally create a positive community, that those other people drift away, or sometimes they change with you. They recognize what you've done and they see, hey, maybe there is a different way to look at things. And so yes, you bring along the
Yeah.
ones that are changing with you, and unfortunately, you might lose some friends along the way, but maybe they weren't friends.
And that's the thing, is that there are billions of people on the planet. Do we need to hold on to that, for a person who's dragging us down? Because if you think about it, like when we're moving forward and somebody is not coming along with us, and just thinking about just actually moving like a sack of potatoes, for example, and like, let's say you're moving around, a 5-pound sack of potatoes. Well, suddenly that other person becomes a 200-pound sack of potatoes that we're carrying around. And it's really hard for us to make that forward movement when we're dragging others along with us. So
Yeah.
instead of trying to drag, it's oftentimes, oh, but I want this for them so bad. I want them to know what this is like so bad.
They've
Life
got to make
coaches,
their
right? A
own
lot of them.
decisions. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's up to them to decide. And so what we do is we set the lighthouse, the beacon of hope. We set that, and we just keep moving forward. And then they either come along with us or they don't. But we can't let them drag us back down to where we were. Otherwise, we're not serving our purpose. So I
Yeah.
could,
And
I could talk about this all day
yeah,
long.
yeah. I just wanted to jump back over to at the
Yeah.
beginning there. I mentioned what the mission of my company was. So to create a cycle of wealth and success among women around the world. And just to kind of expand on that a bit, my whole vision of what that looks like is that whole idea. I remember a while ago, there was that commercial with, I think it was a hair commercial, and she told two friends and she told two friends and so on and so on. And basically the idea that as I help the women in my circle to improve their life, whether it's a financial thing, whether it's just what they're working on and moving forward. As I help them, I find most women, as they feel lifted, they tend to reach out and help other women and lift them as well. And so I see it really as a cycle and a ripple effect. So that ripple effect of I'm helping these women, they're helping others, and they're helping others, and really reaching around the world. Like, this is what I feel is what's going to change the world, is women lifting each other. And so that is the whole focus of where I'm at, is really creating that ripple effect, allowing other women to build that positive support. And I think that's what's going to create the tipping point in what we're, the world we're living in right now. We need a lot more positive energy floating around.
For sure. There's never too much positive energy. And talking about reigniting your life, I love this because, reigniting your life, if you imagine, a light, what do you call it? A matchstick, and you actually spark that matchstick, right? There's something that sparks that ignition in our own lives. And then we can start with just one person, ourselves. Like, we have to start with one. But then, finding other people in our corner, like Cathy was talking about, finding those other people who either are like-minded or they're where you want to be. Not where you were, but those that you want, where you want to be, to keep you to move forward, right? And then as we go on this journey, and as we learn, like me, when I first started this, I was never talking about any of this stuff because I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't living a positive life. And so now what's happened is I've moved into that space that now I'm teaching it. Right. So, but that's about moving forward and moving into new areas. And Cathy was talking about the comfort zone, and, that comfort zone, nothing really happens inside of that comfort zone. We got to break through it. We got to enlarge the size of that comfort zone in order to make it so that our new comfort zone, I like to call it making, being comfortable, being uncomfortable, because it's that uncomfort zone that is where our growth is going to happen. So you guys get out there and just reignite your life. Cathy, please tell everybody how they can connect with you.
Yeah, so I put some information in the chat there. And so my website is just inspiredtenacity.com. So it's easy to find that way. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm in all of Linda's groups, so you can find me there. And yes, and buy our books, and you'll find our contact information there as well. And yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's been great. And I look forward to hearing all the other talks today and tomorrow. So thanks again, Linda, and all the rest of you.
Awesome, Cathy. Thank you so much. And everybody, keep inspired and keep that tenacity, inspired tenacity. Go check Cathy out, and really, truly appreciate you and all the tips that you shared with us. And, life is too short to spend it not being happy or being miserable, and so we got to do what we can in order to move out of that space into positivity. If you know somebody in your life who has experienced low times, or times that like they have doubts in themselves, please share these videos out with them, because you never know if one of these talks is the one that helps them to see themselves moving forward and out of the situation that they're in today.